it's Krista here with Blooms and Brushstrokes. Welcome back. I am back from Thailand, my little adventure. I do have a little bit of a sinus cold going on, so I apologize if I sound a little bit stuffy. I think I'm getting over it, but that's what happens when you're traveling and you're on an airplane for that long. Anyways, so I will have a tutorial coming up, or a video, sorry, coming up with what I purchased in Thailand. If you guys have been following along with some of my shorts, I was able to find some paints that were made in Thailand, but I'm waiting on a empty set of pans to come so that I can show you guys what I do with the tubes, what I'm going to do with the tubes of paint. So that I can use them. So I'm just holding off on that, but I wanted to get on and do a little exercise with you guys because I've had a few people comment on some of my past videos about how they are struggling with it turning out messy, looking crappy, too much water, not enough water, leaving dots behind, all types of things like that. And I just wanted to address some of those things in a video to hopefully encourage you guys to continue to try and to continue to work towards mastering this if we ever become masters. We're always just learning, I think. But so I wanted to get on and have a little tutorial about that. So very first and foremost, I'm going to touch base on the amount of water to use and all that kind of stuff, because that is something that takes time and practice to learn. It's not something you're going to just get on the first try. And it's very hard to show exactly how much water is in a brush in a video, but I'm going to try to do my best. There are a few little things though that can help with that just to get off and running. Not all brushes are created equally. There's beginner brushes, there's intermediate, and there's professional brushes. So, for the sake of what we're doing, I would suggest getting a beginner or an intermediate brush. The more professional brushes often hold a lot more water, and they're quite a bit larger. So, I don't use a ton of professional brushes. I have a few, but for what I do, I simply use the intermediate brushes. Where they don't hold, they aren't holding a ton of water, but they do hold a good amount. So when you see a brush that maybe looks like this one's going to hold a lot of water. And then you're going to have a little bit less control over the paint. So I would say for the sake of just learning, steer clear of some of these bigger brushes just to have a little bit more control. That's my tip for you. Some people might say differently. For me, I stick with the brushes that are kind of middle of the road. 8, 10, 12s, rounds. I use those. I've been dabbling a little bit with this dagger, but I'm just learning how to use that. So I'm not going to say that in this one. Sometimes I even use a number 6 round. So these are all, beginner to intermediate brushes. Perhaps this one might be a professional, but that's where I stick as far as the brushes go. And then ones that are that have weird. That's bent. They don't have such a big plume of bristles. You'll have a bit better control with that. So that is my first tip when you're using brushes. Be picky about what you use. Secondly, instead of starting off with picking a tutorial that I've done, or you can be inspired by a tutorial, fine. But before you go ahead and do that, I would say get yourself a large piece of paper, watercolor paper, just a cheap paper. You can use it in a book. You can use a piece of it. I have a huge one that I've been just cutting up. So get that out and then let's practice. So that's what we're going to do right now. We've got a sheet of paper and we're just going to practice with that water. I'm going to show you guys a few of my techniques and we're just going to have fun and play around and do some strokes. We're not specifically working on a picture. We're trying to nail down how much water, how much paint to use, when is it too much? When is it not enough? When can you add more water or color or paint, whatever? So get yourself set up, get your paints, your brushes, your paper, your water, all that good stuff, and let's get cracking on this fun little exercise to try to help give you guys a little bit better understanding of how much water to use and some tips on how to rectify too much water. All right, so we are set up here. I've got my brushes, I've got my paints. So first and foremost, before I even get going, is that I'm going to spray my paints and activate them. So I'm getting it on my paper here, but it doesn't matter. So we're gonna give it a good solid spray down so that they're all wet. Get them activated. That's funny, there's a couple cat hairs in there, of course. So get your paints going first and very foremost. You can get them all sprayed up. And a decent amount. Because these dry up, especially here in Saskatchewan. It's winter and my furnace is going and they seem to dry up. Okay, so next up, we're gonna select a brush and I'm gonna use my number, where is that? I'm gonna use my number 8 Aqua Elite. So this is a pretty small, like it's got a pretty small amount of bristles on the end of it. It's not huge like this. This is just gonna give me more control. This one's gonna hold a lot more water. So we're starting with something like this. Okay, and so now we're gonna just play around with the amounts of water. So hopefully you guys can see this. So what I do is I always dip my brush in the water and then I always kind of tap it out on the edge of it. So it's not totally dripping. If you just take it out and it's just dripping, hopefully you guys can see that. You know, if it's just dripping, that's way too much water. So what I always do is I take it and I will like take some water off of it like that. If I feel it's still too much water, you can kind of tell by like looking at your brush. If it's just too much, then I will just take it and like a little dab. So you still see it's soaking wet, but just not as much. This is kind of a skill that you will learn as you practice. And that's why I think it's really important that you just get out a piece of paper and have no expectations. So we're just gonna have some fun with this. So we're gonna get our brush wet, take a little bit of that water off of it. Hopefully you guys, I'll just do this right here. So I can see it's still pretty damp. So let's just start with, and we want our paint to be pretty wet because less pigment is more often when it comes to watercolor painting. Let's start with turquoise. I'm feeling that. Okay. So the other thing too is we're just going to get a little bit of turquoise on the tip of our brush. You guys can see. Yep. Just like that. So we're going to start by, okay. We're going to start by, we'll just go down here. No, let's go up here. And we're going to put a couple dots down. Small dots. We've got a lot of pigment on there. We want, say, let's go with these dots. Good enough. We're going to clean our brush off almost entirely. Take off a lot of that water. So, okay. Yeah, that looks good to start. And we're going to start off, we can even start below this first dot and start to make a pass with that. Next one, we're going to clean off your brush again because we don't want to make it a mess. So you want to clean it off in between. So, not all the time, but sometimes. If you feel like it's messy, then you're going to want to. And then we're going to drag and we're going to get these ones. Oh, we could use a little bit more water. Okay, so we've dragged and we've picked up those. Oh, and let's go and get this one. Perfect. Okay. All right, so you can see here how I've just put my brush in and kind of taken it out in the shape of petals. and just let that be so. So I only put down some small dots of color or of paint, so not a lot. So there's more paint or so more water to paint ratio. If you get this done and you're like, you know what, I want it to be a little bit darker in the center. So when it's still wet, go and add a little bit more straight turquoise into the center where it's going to be darker, because that's where the flower comes together. Okay, great. That looks awesome. Just remember though, that in watercolor, it's very easy to quickly make a mess or use too much paint. So less is more. Let's leave that one at that. So very, very easy. You know, say you want to add like a couple other little petals in there. Gonna add a teeny bit of color and a little bit of water, and we'll just say, oh, we want to like say a little petal to come down here, just a little one, and then maybe something like that. Perfect. Stop while you're ahead. The more you overwork, the worse it's gonna look. Leave it at that. So that'll be our very first one there. Play around with that. Have a little fun. I only put down 4 dots to start. We can do that again over here. So again, you know, dip your brush in. It's dripping, it's dripping. Okay, we don't want that much. We want to knock some off. Knock some off. Knock some off. Looks pretty good. So we'll do a similar style one down here with a different color. And it doesn't matter what color, we're just having fun. We're just doing these as an exercise. So pick whatever colors you so desire. So we're going to do something similar to that. And we're going to add more paint this time around. So we're going to add bigger dots. And we're going to add more water. So we're just going to tap our brush off one time. Okay, so we're going to start by, we're going to drag it into these. You can already see how much more paint and color is happening there. You know, with the like that way more paint, way more. And so right now it's like, oh my gosh, I can tell this is like probably too much up here. It's just a little too vibrant. Well, you can go in and you can pick up some of that color by cleaning your brush off, drying your brush off, and picking up some of that paint so it just doesn't look as intense. If you feel like it's too much in some area. Over here, it's like, oh my gosh, there's a little bit too much water there. Do that same thing. Clean your brush off, dry your brush off, and go in and pick up some of that. Now, this can be a bit of a problem because of the type of paper or the quality of paper, let's say. You can already see this little kind of bloomy thing here that doesn't look great. Well, the paper I'm using isn't super great quality. And so you'll find that you can have these little imperfections show up because of the quality of paper I'm using. It's just not that 100% cotton or whatever. And that's fine. You just have to learn how to work with that. And these are kind of those little tips where it's like, okay, well, there's some water over there, or I don't like, you know, how this is looking. You can kind of go in and blend it a little bit with a little bit of water on your brush, and just like so, you can do that. So, okay, we're decently happy with that. We want to add a little bit of darkness in and around here. It might have dried up a bit, but let's go in with a dark bluey violet and, you know, kind of just put a little down in here. We want that color just for fun. It's like, okay, well, it's kind of dried up. Well, you can go in with a clean, wet brush, pretty wet, and you can kind of just move it along a little bit. Be careful though. If you have too much water, it's gonna look like puddles. So you'll want to go pick up some of that water with your brush. just for a different look in there. So already you can see the difference between how much color and how much water I use. So this one had lots of paint, lots of water. It doesn't look as put together as this one. Little paint, little water. So I think the big thing is when you are doing these is to go less is more. You can always add into it, but it's really hard to take away once we've got it down. So let's try a purple one again. Let's go with a different purple. Let's go violet. And we'll just do small dots again. So 1, 2, 3, 4 small dots. And we're going to go with less water again. There's one. We're going to clean our brush off. Again, they don't have to be perfect because we're going to use we got that. And let's say we want another little petal coming down just like so. I didn't even put a dot. I just had a little bit of paint on my brush. Beauty. So you can already just tell how much more beautiful these are when you just use a little less. So we want to go and add a little bit of darker color just in the base here. There's a little puddle of water there. So we'll pick that up a bit. So there you go, you guys. There's a few simple little techniques to help you with the control of your painting. So number one, find a brush that just has a smaller head on it, a smaller, I don't even know what you would call that, just a smaller amount of bristles. So go for the beginner or intermediate style paintbrushes. You know, an 8 is good, 6 is even good. You could use a 6. I would say a 6, 8, or 10. 12 might be getting a little bit big, but depending on the size of painting. But I mean, if you're just starting to do this technique, like start small. That'll help out a lot. So I think that for the amount of water, I hope that helps you guys. Just get a paper like this and play around. Honestly, I do it almost every time before I do a tutorial. I almost get a piece of paper like this and just play around and play around and play around just to get in the mode of painting. It's just fun. And even if you're having a painting block, just get a piece of paper like this and just go. Just have fun. Have fun with it. So another question that I had was, why am I seeing dots? So as you can see, we put down dots. It's a little wet there. We'll go up here. So we're going to use what color? Well, let's use 2 different colors. Let's switch that up. So let's use our turquoise, which I love. I'm feeling that right now. So use our turquoise. We're going to do 1 turquoise dot. Sorry, that's not very wet. 1 turquoise dot, 2 turquoise dots. And then let's go in with a little bit of olive green because I love olive green. 3, 4, and we'll do a 5. Okay, so let's say we leave these for a little bit of time. And we start off. Okay, well, we're going to do 1. 1. Clean it off. 2. Great, we're doing okay. Okay, 3. And we'll let this last one dry. But already you can kind of see there's a dot there and there's a dot there. Likely because I've left the paint on too long. The quality of my paper isn't that great. So there's a few things you can do. You can go in with a clean brush with a little bit of water on the tip of it and just kind of work that dot out. Same with here. Or you can leave it in there. Like you can leave the dot in there. It's not a big deal, but you can just kind of go work it out so it doesn't look so stark. We're going to do this last green one, which will probably leave a bit of a little bit of a dot there. So same thing, just go in and kind of work it out a bit. And so we've got two colors in there. Let's go in and put a little bit of, that's too wet. So you'll start to, the more you practice, you'll start to really understand like how much is too much. You'll be able to see the little imperfections coming on the page. You'll see all that. It just takes practice again, like everything else does. Like it's just, I think we all have to kind of remember that sometimes, that, you know, we aren't born knowing exactly how to paint, so it takes a lot of practice to really learn how to do that. So those are a couple simple little techniques, I think, that should help you guys a little bit when you're doing this or trying to do a tutorial. Oh, hi, buddy. Little Tex-Mex is here to visit. He missed me so much while I was gone. Are you saying hi? Hello, Bubba. So before we finish up, we'll just play around a little bit with some different shapes. So, and colors. Let's go in and I'm going to grab a red color. And we can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 dots of red. And then we'll go in, say, with a little bit of orange. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got little dots, as you can see. We're cleaning off our brush with that same method. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good. All right. We're going to swoop that up. Clean off our brush. Come on down. Oh, that's a little too dry. Dry off your brush. Clean it off every so often because it'll start to look muddy. And we have just the shape of kind of a daisy shape there. More abstract, all good. Less abstract, all good. Like whatever you want. This is kind of a wonky color scheme there, but just play around. So same thing. Okay, I'm going to take a lot of water this time. Not clean off my brush too much. I'm going to grab a green color. We'll say this even for a leaf. You know, we'll just do some dots of green down. Take some of that other green. We got lots of color on there now. And we'll say take a lot of water. You know. Okay, well, that looks pretty good, but you're like, "Oh, there's too much water down here." Clean off your brush, dry off your brush. Pick up a little bit of that water so it doesn't look messy. So I think that's probably going to do it for my tips for that. Mostly because I don't want to overwhelm you guys. So there's a few things. Again, it's like as I was saying before, your brush, less is more. So less paint, less water goes, looks better. Like this one, amazing. This one, amazing. They look better when you have less. You can always add in a little extra. Even say here, okay, we've got this purple one. Well, I want to add in an extra bloom in there. Well, you can take some purple or whatever color. Well, I got purple on my brush now, but say, oh, we're going to put like a purple dab there. And we're going to put one here and here. Lots of water. Dry it off a bit. And you can go in and you can add even more. It may be too much, but if you want to add more petals, you can do that. You can do it once it's dry. And then we're going to, we do the line work to really show where those petals are, but it just adds a bit more to that I always go with like less is more, but you can always add in more. If you feel like you're, I didn't have enough, it's just looking kind of wonky. You can go add one more in once it's dry. It's no big deal. So start with less is more. Then as far as the dots being left behind goes, well, again, it's like, we have this dot and okay, we have this dot left behind. Well, you can always go in with your brush, clean and dry-ish brush, and work that dot out. So you don't see it as much. But again, these are kind of fun paintings. If there's a dot left in there like this one, that's not the end of the world, So to play around with those techniques, I think that'll go a long way for you. And then even just in this, play around with different variations of petals, of leaves. You can do different styles of leaves just by dropping different dots down, cleaning your brush so it doesn't get muddy. That's very important. So yeah, I hope that helps you guys out with those few little questions and comments that I had. I know some people were getting a little bit frustrated. So it can be frustrating, especially if you're very new, very, very new to watercolor. Learning the amount of water and paint to use is the key 100% of the time. So it really takes practice like this to just play around and with different shapes and different amounts of water, like use less, use more, and then the little tips as well, where it's like, you can brush out those blemishes, you can pick up water, you can add more paint. Don't be afraid to play around. I think it can be really frustrating too if you think that when you do a painting it has to be a masterpiece every time. You kind of got to go into it just remembering that we're all learning, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take a few crappy pictures before they're going to look amazing and awesome, and that's okay. And that's how we all learn. I've totally self-taught myself in that exact way of having more paintings look like this than this. So I'll finish this one up. We'll just have fun with it because we are here. So I'm going to take my Micron pen, Micron number 1 pen, and we can just finish off this by doing, adding in those petals. So we can do like that. And that can be our little flower, and we can have, whatever in the center. This can kind of be where the stem comes from, and then we can, play around. I always use metallic in there to kind of finish it off. So, I guess, we could add in some line work to give more definition. Or not. You don't have to add in the line work. And you don't even have to outline it. Even for this one, I was like, oh, that looks really pretty without the outline. But it's kind of my thing. I always like to have that in there. And then in the center, I will often sprinkle down something metallic. These are the CYS Art Gallery metallics. They're decent for what you pay for them. They're not bad. I've been enjoying them. So I'm going to use my number 1 script. These need a lot of water. I should have sprayed them down. And I'm going to use the gold. These take a while to get going, so come on. You need a lot of, the one thing about them is to get a decent amount of pigment, you need a lot. So that's why I find sometimes using the calligraphy ink is better. But anyway, we can go in and kind of just do some dots in the center. Sometimes I splatter them in there like so, just to make that middle section look like a flower. And just like that, you guys, you have a teeny little flower done. So those are my hot tips on understanding how much water, how much paint, and all that stuff to use. So please have fun, play around, continue to ask me questions. I will answer them to the best of my ability, but please understand that I am a self-taught watercolor artist. I don't know everything, and what I do know may not be what the next person would tell you, because these are what I've learned on my own throughout my own trials and errors. But have fun, play around, and yeah, don't get frustrated. I'm here to encourage you to paint and to learn your style and to feel comfortable with watercolor and just enjoy it. It is such a beautiful medium to work with. So please continue to ask questions and have fun with what we're up to. All right, you guys, I really hope that helps you guys in your watercolor journey and helps to give you a little bit of, gives you some tips so that you can play around and practice a little bit and have a little bit of fun. I think the biggest thing to remember is just have fun. And if it's frustrating to you and it's feeling like it's too much, take a pause and just walk away. Sometimes in a couple hours, the painting doesn't look as bad as when you were originally doing it. Once it dries and it settles, it doesn't necessarily look quite like you thought it was going to. So take a break, a breather, walk away, and come back to it. But my biggest tip to you all is to practice, practice, practice. Get out a scrap piece of watercolor and just play around with brush strokes and water and paint and how much of this, how much of that, and pick it up and just play around. As I said before, I almost do that before every single tutorial that I do with you guys, or even before I just sit down and paint. I often will just play around and get in the mode and just kind of get that muscle memory back and just have fun. So do that, and it'll be a little bit more enjoyable for you guys. And again, don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have. Thank you guys so much for watching the tutorial, and I can't wait to show you guys what I got in Thailand in the next tutorial. So I will see you guys very soon, and until then, enjoy and keep practicing.